to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. Raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
Hello and welcome to everyone to the celebration of the life of Shirley Walker. We have a terrific program planned for this afternoon, and I hope that you will all enjoy it. I want to remind everyone this is a celebration. Tears, smiles, and laughter are all welcome. That's the way Shirley was. Okay? Our program consists of a number of family and friends speaking and sharing their thoughts and reminiscences with us. And I will introduce you to each of them as we go through the program. I would ask everyone to put their phones on silence or otherwise make it so that they can't be heard during the speaking part of the program. After the formal part of the program, there's going to be refreshments and snacks at the back of the hall, and we can remain here thereafter for discussion, reminiscences, and everybody meeting people and having a good time. All right? So, start off with, to start this off, I'm going to say let's have about a moment of silence so that we can bring our minds, or bring Shirley's spirit into our minds and focus our minds on the impact that she's had on each of us. Okay. Now, in this type of a job, people always say to me, you've got to tell a joke or two. You've got to break the ice in this type of things. I say, okay. So a woman said to her husband, I'd like to have another baby. And her husband said, I agree with you. I don't like this one either. Now, that doesn't really relate to Shirley, but Shirley was a dental assistant at one time, and somebody asked me, what do you call dental x-rays? And Shirley would, of course, have said, toothpicks. There you go. Okay, enough of that. Sounds like we had the moment of silence after the jokes, guys. So, I first met Shirley close to 25 years ago And I met Shirley through her dear sister Robbie, who at that time was a friend and lover of mine, and who ultimately became my permanent life partner. Shirley and Robbie were very close, and Shirley was a dedicated daughter, and she would often travel to Calgary to visit her mother, Noreen, who was in the old, what would I call it, the care home, the Father Lacombe care homes in southeast Calgary. And of course, when she came, she would stay with Robbie originally, and when we jointly acquired a house, she'd stay with us. She would come out to visit about every 6 months, and she'd stay about a week, so we had lots of time, and got to know her pretty well. She had a penchant for arguing, I would say. Now, I enjoyed that myself, and so as a result, over the years, we had scores of arguments, many of them. I enjoyed it sometimes, she enjoyed it sometimes, not always. But she always claimed it was because we were born one day apart on the annual calendar, and we're both Aries, and that gives rise to argumentative type folks, she would say. Now, in addition, it was clear from the outset that she was outspoken. She sometimes was prone to make strong and unfiltered remarks from time to time. But that was part of her character, and that was part of what made her lovable. So that's all good. We argued about many things. It didn't matter what, really. Social issues, politics, you name it, we could argue about it. And I would say that she always took the side of the unfortunate. Anyone who more unfortunate than herself, she was sympathetic towards that. So she'd always take the cause of the unfortunate in our society, and we'd haggle it out. And then, as a trump card, she would use the following: "Listen, I'm older than you, kiddo, so you should just agree with me." Say, that's not an argument. In any event, what I remember most about her is her resolute defense of the unfortunate, the stoicism that she exhibited in the face of several life hardships and setbacks and losses, and finally that she'd like to argue a lot. Now, I always called her Shirley the girl, because from the first time I met her, and she never objected to that, so I kept doing it. I noticed that everybody I've spoken to today uses a more formal name, and that's good with me as well. So our program today consists of 9 people sharing their thoughts and reminiscences with us. I will introduce them as we go along, and we're going to start in a few minutes, but I'd ask everybody to make sure their phones are off. I know I already asked, but people tend not to comply with the first request sometimes. So there we go. So I'm going to start by asking Jean-Jacques Diot, Shirley's husband, to come and share some thoughts, his thoughts and reminiscences. And he's going to perform a smudging ceremony, which he at the front of his presentation here. So go ahead, JJ, get that ready. While you're doing that, I'm going to tell another joke. What do you call a cow with a tick? A twitch. Beef turkey.
negative. So we're going to go on the direction to clear the negativity in emotions, mind. So we're pure now, and we can proceed. It was to respect Shirley's, actually, spiritual inclination. So dear friends and family members, thank you for joining me in this sacred place to celebrate a woman who was bigger than life. Concordia University and Montreal as a whole is made up of individuals from many different faiths and different also spiritual path. Loyola Chapel embraces this principle of diversity, as you can see when you look around at the different display of symbols on the wall and stained glass windows. Many trips up north to the Cree community shaped Shirley's belief that led her to adopt the Aboriginal spirituality. Such was the medicine, and such was also a choice to be celebrated in this non-denominational church of worship. I have difficulty to pronounce that expression, as you can tell. But before turning over the podium to the guest speaker and hearing their eulogies, let me address my personal thanks to two angels, Ellen Downey and Deborah Simon. Both were Shirley's teaching assistant in the past, and they facilitated the organization of the event today. So, gratitude to you both. Also, I want to seize the opportunity to thank each of you who express your condolence in email, cards, and letters. They will be answered in due time. Out of the goodness of your heart, you all mentioned, in fact insisted, now JJ, it's the time for you to take care of yourself. Well, I thank you very much, but you forgot something, to include the manual and also the troubleshooting page. It goes with it. But don't worry, though I am a good doctor, and you reassured me lately that I was not having a heart attack. And my Chinese acupuncturist was able to release some kind of sadness on the lungs meridian. So all is well, and all is normal, you know, under the circumstances. Shirley Ann, and trust that the everlasting love we share will be able, with time, to round the corners of the harsh reality that you are gone. Shirley Ann, I trust that you are now in a better place after enduring such a debilitating disease for so many years. And in the meantime, my heart rejoices to imagine you dancing away with Kelty, Corinne, and Robbie. And you're inviting us to do the same because, as nature instructs us, life must go on. Your indomitable spirit and your infectious laughter enrich my life forever. Thank you, darling. Adieu.
Thank you, JJ. And now I'm going to call on Karen Delphi, a lifelong friend of Shirley's, to share her thoughts and reminiscences. Thank you.
When I look around this room, this chapel, I am so happy to see all of you. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Because I know that Shirley would be in her element, walking the rows, walking the aisles, and chatting to each one of you. And that's not all she would do. She would insist you stand up and hug her, and you hug her back, and in the end, she would have to analyze the strength of your hug and tell you what she thought. And this was Shirley, my sweet friend who was filled with love, kindness, empathy, and joy. She was also incredibly resilient. My friendship with Shirley was full of surprises. Jim, you alluded to some of the reasons why I would have been full of surprises. But one of my very first experiences occurred when we were coming back from New York City. And we were going through the customs, and Shirley was ahead of me. And the gentleman, the customs agent asked her, "Have you bought anything? Did you have anything to declare?" And Shirley said, "No, I didn't buy anything, and I don't have anything to declare." And the next thing I knew, she turned around, pointed at me, said to the customs, "But she does." And that was the beginning of me understanding that we would have multiple years ahead of us with great joy and great laughter, because this was hysterical right then. So many of you also know that Shirley was a very friendly human being, and she loved to talk to people, and she loved to help them, and she was passionate about life, particularly when your ideas did not align with hers. One of my favorite stories about this occurred a number of years ago when Shirley was walking through NDG and happened upon a restaurant, went into it, and met the owners of the restaurant who were struggling to make a living. So open-hearted Shirley agreed to help them out by serving people and by cleaning. One day, a few months later, and by the way, she loved this job, I got a call from her, and she said to me, "You know, Karen, I'm not on your job anymore." And I said, "What do you mean, Shirley? Are you telling me that you were fired from your job?" And she said to me, "Well, not quite, but they asked me not to come back." So I said, "Shirley, I don't understand. This was a volunteer job. How is it possible to be fired from a volunteer job?" So she very quietly explained to me that she would sit down at the tables while the people were eating, and then proceed to have many discussions, including many discussions, Jim, that included politics. So I then really understood that she is the first person I ever met who talked herself out of a volunteer job. And that was my darling friend, Shirley. But all things considered, Shirley was possibly the most resilient person I have ever met, and she had an astonishing life force. Around 2 weeks shy of her death, we were talking on the phone, and Shirley was having one of her good days. And she had many good days, and the rumor was Shirley would live forever. And she informed me that she was getting her energy back, and that when she had it fully back, she was going to come visit me in the country. And then she said, I'm going to clean my office. Now, any of you who know Shirley know she would do absolutely nothing to clean her office. She would run from cleaning her office. And I didn't know how to react because I knew Shirley was dying. So I started laughing. And she got really upset. And she said to me, why are you laughing, Karen? And I said, well, Shirley, I'm not going to hold my breath and wait for you to clean your office. And my sweet, darling friend, my gentle Shirley, told me in no uncertain terms to fuck off, Karen. And this is how I remember Shirley. Her strength of character, the desire to embrace life regardless of what life dealt her, this deep and powerful life force that has brought us all together in this chapel, for us to say our farewells, to remember with joy and laughter and admiration for this human being called Shirley. Shirley, we will meet again, but not in our human form. We will meet as energy, and I look forward to that moment when I can feel your spirit and your energy radiating outwards and touching everything that surrounds you. But until then, my friend, may your soul, may your spirit soar, may it laugh, and may it dance. You are free of your body. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Karen. That was splendid. Next on our list is Stephanie Meidelman. She's a friend of Shirley's from Concordia University.
Hi. I first met Shirley 25 years ago. I had registered in her class at Concordia on, of course, human sexuality, what else? It was a great class, and Shirley was an inspiring professor. She loved to tell the story about how at the end of that semester, I came up to her and I said, I want to be your TA. She said I had chutzpah, which loosely translates to audacity, and she said that she loved that. She also loved her Yiddish words. I did TA for her for years, and Shirley's course quite literally changed the course of my life. Shirley and I began to design and implement prevention programs across the North. We spent many weeks planning together, and even more weeks on the road, as far as the Cree territories of James Bay, all the way to the Tahltan communities of the Alaskan border. Through all the journeys and back, Shirley and I talked for hours, and mostly we just laughed. It was on one of these early trips that I first saw the plane that was going to take us north. It was not like any plane I'd ever seen before. I turned to her and I said, Cheryl, where's the plane? and she pointed at this tiny little 6-seater sitting outside with propellers on the front that were like tied back with bungee cords. And I repeated my question to her again, and I said, "But Cheryl, where's the plane?" And she once again pointed at the tiny little plane, and then this time leaned into my ear and quietly said, "You know, Steffi, size doesn't always matter." Like only Shirley could do. And just like that, we boarded, and we laughed the whole way there. No one had a laugh like Shirley quite did. It came straight from the heart, and heart she had plenty of. Shirley's lessons will remain with me forever. She taught me more than I could share here with you, but to name a few, she taught me how to teach, and in fact, we did have some classes and conferences together in this very building, which it's nice to be back. She taught me how to foster trust in a group, how to hold space for hard feelings, and how to trust the process, which was a line very popular in our department for many years. She taught me that all couples and families have their issues to work through, and that connection is the antidote to most of what hurts us. She taught me that life gets better with age, and that courage is the ability to tell your story and still like yourself in that process. She taught me that love heals, and she also taught me that moms are not always blood related or biological. She taught me how to show up and be present, and when I think back to almost all the crucial moments I've had myself as a mom, Shirley was right there, right next to me, by my side. And to my son, she was Auntie Shirley. Shirley most importantly taught me what being grateful looks like, and that laughter and some fresh challah really are the best medicines. She loved her challah. My husband Todd and I are so grateful we have had both Shirley and JJ in our lives. Thank you for all that you have shared with us and for all the learnings you have passed on. We will do our best to pay those lessons forward. To all of Shirley's kids and grandkids who are here and not here, you were her greatest joys. She cherished all of you, and she loved to talk about so many of your many accomplishments. To JJ, Shirley was thankful for your kindness and generosity every single day. I don't think I can end this any better than what Todd has said many times. The world would be a much better place if everyone had a Shirley in their life. Thank you for being ours. Aleha Shalom, Shirley. May you have peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Next on the list is Shirley's son, Craig Moyes. Please come forward.
It is a rare thing to meet someone for the first time twice, and even rarer when that person is your mother. I met Shirley on April 16, 1961 in Burnaby, British Columbia. I met her again in the spring of 1994 in a village called Water Beach, just outside of Cambridge, in England. I don't remember anything about that first meeting. Nothing unusual about that, of course. I'd only just been born. And for 33 years, I didn't think much about it, except now and again wondering, as children do, where I came from. Had I known Shirley was a teacher of sexuality, she could have told me where that kid was. But I actually grew up having no idea about my immediate biological family, neither its history nor its genetic background. And that actually gave me a certain amount of freedom. I could be anybody. I wasn't tied to a history. I was free to be me. But Shirley thought about it. who I was, who I'd become. Perhaps not every day, perhaps not every week, but often. The fact that she'd given up a baby for adoption remained in her mind even after having a family of her own. So much so that after that family was grown, she decided to look for the baby she'd given up through the means available at the time. It took her over 2 years to track me down. She didn't find the baby she remembered, of course. When she met me for the second time on the railway platform in Water Beach, she found a fully grown man, a bit perplexed, a bit embarrassed, a bit wary, if the truth be told. What I saw stepping off the train was not a teenager from Calgary who had been thrown unprepared into motherhood, but a middle-aged woman with a warm and strangely familiar smile who greeted me with the words, "Well, look at you. You look just like you." With that, we had lunch, and there began, as they say, a beautiful relationship. Over the next 29 years, I really got to know Shirley Walker. And if I got to know her as I did, it was because of her dogged insistence that I was her son. That it was she who brought me into the world, and like it or not, she was not going to leave me a second time. Central to Shirley's being was family. She was very keen on letting me know that I was a part of that. That again, like it or not, we had a shared history, and we were linked genetically. It was a life richer than most. She told me about her father, about his life in Alberta, about her mother and her Caribbean roots, about the diverse backgrounds and distant family members, all of which was supposed to be me. She showed me pictures saying, "Don't you look like so-and-so?" And sometimes I thought I did. I became a teenager in the era of Alex Haley's Roots, which, for those of you too young to remember, was the semi-fictionalized story of a young Black American search for his African ancestors. It was a work that went beyond family lore by combining some serious detective work with a fair bit of imagination. It became a celebrated TV series, and then suddenly, everybody started thinking about where their distant ancestors might have come from. Everyone started to ask, who am I really? They thought that history could provide that answer. And about 20 years ago, that impulse gave rise to a wildly successful British television program, Who Do You Think You Are?, now syndicated all over the world. 10 years ago, science was added to the mix, and with the advent of genetic testing for all, the American series Finding Your Roots was born. Finally, it seemed to become possible to look in the mirror and to know who we truly were. A few years ago, long after I had become part of the family, Shirley did a DNA test herself. I was curious to learn the results. From memory, and I may be getting this wrong, 42% Highland Scots, 31% English, 21% Irish, 17% Italian, 6% West African, and 112% Jewish. It didn't matter that the numbers didn't add up. What they showed was Shirley's extraordinary inclusiveness. She wanted me to be part of the family, but she sort of wanted everyone to be part of the family, and also to be part of everyone else's. From her remarkable work with Indigenous communities that Stephanie just spoke about, to her long-standing friendships in Montreal, to my own family as it was born, expanded, and grew, to her students and colleagues, and even to random people she would meet while out walking. Her first instinct was to welcome. To welcome, to welcome, to welcome, and then to try to reduce whatever physical distance was there in order to be present as possible, to be as present as possible to the people she loved. It didn't matter if you were across the world or across the street. She embraced you. And here's a little trivia question. Who is the only person in the history of the Montreal service industry to have been fired for hugging the customers? Yes, it's Shirley. Who else? And none of that mattered. Shirley was unapologetically Shirley. And sooner or later, she won you over. You just couldn't say no to Shirley. She wanted to get in your face, as she liked to say. And in my case, I discovered that she was quite literally in my face, as I was in hers. But more importantly, and really it is entirely thanks to her, she was in my life. And now, she is in my family's life. And there she will remain. "62 years after that first meeting, and here on the day before Mother's Day, I can say thank you, Shirley. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig, for that very touching history. Next, I'm going to call on one of Shirley's granddaughters, Maddie Anderson, to share her thoughts with us. Watch your step there, Maddie.
My Nana had the biggest and brightest personality I had ever seen. She was always bursting with energy that was so contagious, it was almost impossible to not be in a good mood when you were around her. I loved the way she could turn absolutely anything into a song. I vividly remember being 6 years old, and my mom and Nana were singing a song about cutting up melon in our kitchen and called themselves the Melon Girls. Another time when I had visited my Nana and Papa JJ before I left for university, my Nana, on the spot, had made a song for me to share with my new roommates. The song started with, "Hey girls, you're getting my Maddie, you're the lucky ones." But honestly, I was the lucky one. I was lucky to have such an inspiring, dazzling woman as my Nana. A woman who taught me so many different things, from making sure to say pardon instead of what when you don't hear someone properly, to not under any circumstance take any sort of crap from anyone. She taught me to stand up for what I believe in and to speak when there was something I wanted to say or something I needed. Anytime I would visit, Nana would ask me if I wanted something, and I would typically respond with, "I'm okay." Nana would answer back with, "I know you're okay, but would you like some?" That was Nana. She was direct and honest and taught me to be the same. She always asked me to speak my mind and to ask for what I wanted, a skill I'll use for the rest of my life. She had a smile that lit up every single room that she walked into, and a laugh that was so pure and full of joy. I loved how every time I hugged my Nana, it felt like everything was going to be okay. Any worries I had, or sadness I was feeling, was completely gone. Any sort of stress or anxiety no longer existed. She would hold me and tell me how beautiful I was and how incredible of a person I had grown to be. She made me feel loved and valued. She made me feel like there wasn't anything in this world that I couldn't do, nothing I couldn't conquer. Nana was someone who always made me feel loved. Her love radiated through every phone call, every visit, every hug. I feel a sense of relief to know that she is reunited with her two beautiful daughters, my mom and Auntie Corinne. I know you're all up in heaven watching over us, singing Pink songs at the top of your lungs, as well as songs of your own. Nana, I know you're always around us and that you're most definitely here with us right now. I want you to know how much you have changed my life and inspired me to be the woman I am today. I've been so blessed to have had you as my Nana, and I'll forever be grateful for all the time I spent with you. You lived such a beautiful life and are extremely loved by so many people. Thank you for all the laughs, the hugs, the long talks, and all the advice. Thank you for simply just being you. I love you forever.
Thank you, Maddie. Okay, before our next speaker, I'm going to just read a couple of emails that I have. One from her nephew, Drew Cuthbertson from Calgary, who couldn't make it today. He said she had the most beautiful, infectious smile that lit up every room she was in. And most importantly, she told me how it was, not how I wanted it to be. His daughter, Kaylee, who's an adult now, asked me to read this. Shirley was my great aunt and one of my favorite family members. I didn't get to see Shirley often, but my fondest memories are when she and Jean-Jacques would visit in Calgary, and we would always have so much fun walking to the bagel shop. Whenever I saw her, she was full of life, love, and laughter, no matter what she was facing or going through. I always looked to her as a strong woman and someone who was not afraid to show up as her authentic self. Shirley showed me that it's okay to be bold and carefree. I will miss her advice, hugs, and laugh dearly, but it gives me lots of peace to know that she is reunited with my Nana. I'm sure they are up there howling away. So that was from her great niece. I'm now going to ask Victoria Anderson, another granddaughter, to come up and share her thoughts with us. Please watch your step.
Hi everyone, my name is Victoria. Shirley is my mom's mom, or as we knew her, Nana. Most of my earliest memories included Nana. She came to visit very often when we were little. Every trip was filled with bedtime stories, inspired by her work with Cree communities, and then the next morning would be followed up with a breakfast spread that was massive and spanned from end to end. One that you'd willingly take a late slip for at school because you knew the conversations weren't going to be short and there were probably more bagels in the toaster. Outings with Nana would always include a little bit of extra time so she can stop and make friends with everyone, and so that she can stop for every single baby we saw in a stroller. Fueled by jubes from the bulk section of the grocery store and improvised songs, visits with Nana were all I looked forward to. Every visit ended with me, an emotionally suppressed middle child, in tears. As my mom used to say, she really doesn't like goodbyes. Growing up, not a lot changed. The breakfast still managed to span whatever table we were seated at, and she would still tell lots of stories. But slowly they became more about her. I learned, as I grew up, why she stopped for each baby, and why she was the way she was, not just as my Nana, but as a woman who had overcome so much in her lifetime and still managed to grab it by the horns. We still ate jubes together, except the ones now usually contain CBD, and she still made friends with everywhere we went. And I still hated saying goodbye, especially this goodbye. Every visit with her felt like a lifetime, but somehow never enough time. Whenever I start to feel like I didn't get enough time with Nana, I remind myself how fully she lived. Her life was not cut short. She did not leave anything unsaid or unfelt. She packed a potent 80 years filled with belly laughs and heated arguments that everyone seems to talk about that usually led to belly laughs. Also visits with her 9 grandchildren and simply enriching the lives of anyone who was lucky enough to meet her. Anything but surface level conversations, every single interaction had meaning and had purpose. Nana has taught me so much throughout my life. She taught me heart and soul on the piano, which I will continue to play poorly on any piano I come across. She taught me about sex at the ripe age of 9, and was constantly singing to me to get my elbows off the table. She taught me how to stand up for myself and advocate for me, because if I didn't, who would? She taught me the importance of trusting destiny and allowing things to fall into place the way they are meant to. She taught me these things by showing me. She showed me what it was to be a good mother, a good sister, and friend. showing me that it's never too late to reconnect with someone or to pursue a completely different career path. She showed me it's never too late to find love in a palm reading class. A lifetime of lessons she packed into my 26 years. I will think of her each time I see a fresh baby in a stroller, when I smell a joint, or when I eat a grocery store juju. When I think of what it means to be a fierce woman and a badass Nana, I will think of her. So I think of her now, in heaven, sitting with her 2 girls and her sister Robbie, belly laughing, sitting around a breakfast table that's simply too big for this earth. Thank you.
Way to go, Victoria. So before I call on Cassie Anderson, I'm going to read one more email from Ryan Cuthbertson, another one of Shirley's nephews, which echoes some of what we just heard from Victoria. Shirley was my favorite aunt. She had patience and was so sweet and thoughtful of others. She was so easy to talk with too, like reality talks about things that were going on in my life, and provided unbelievable guidance to me throughout my entire life. And I will always remember that about her. The only thing we ever disagreed on was her support for the Liberals and Justin Trudeau. Well, I can vouch for it, notwithstanding the many times I instructed her otherwise. She's never lost her affinity for anyone with the last name of Trudeau. Okay. All right, now I'm going to ask Cassie Anderson, another granddaughter, to come forward, please. Watch your step there, Cassie. It's tricky.
Hello. My best friend in the world is gone. After my mom died, my larger-than-life Nana took my hand and never let go for over 12 years. She was my first call. Roommate drama, she helped me move. Job woes, she was on the phone for hours. Breakup, she was over with snacks and doobies. Last minute event, she let me raid her fabulous closet. The love I hold for my mom's mom is the greatest love I've ever known. Sorry. She can warm anyone from the inside out. With her charisma, generosity, and overwhelming kindness. It was an incredible privilege to learn some of my most cherished qualities of my mother came from my Nana. Her musical laugh, her ability to turn anything into a sing-along, kitchen dance-alongs, and how she embraced every single person she met full-heartedly. I learned how beautiful life is from my Nana. She loved coming dancing with me and JJ, having tea on the balcony, usually after smoking, cuddling on the couch, and long talks about politics, music, sex, art, and life. She would approach everyone and anyone on the street and tell them how beautiful they were, and she meant it every single time. A tenured applied sciences prof at Concordia, she would empower me and my friends with her confidence boot camps, long, upbeat sermons in which she built you up from the root. And by the end, you felt like you could fly. She wasn't the kind of person who lit the room with her presence. She set the whole thing on fire. To know Shirley Walker was truly to know a force of nature. The world is notably dimmer without her in it. However, I'm choosing to honor her by acknowledging the fire that she lit in every single person in this room. If we live our lives by Nana's flame, she's never truly gone. And I know nothing would make her happier than to see all of us loving ourselves boldly and proudly, just like she loved us. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Cassie. Next on the list is Alex Kent, one of Shirley's granddaughters.
I'm the last granddaughter, I promise. If I could describe my grandmother in one word, it would be unforgettable. I say this because the simple act of experiencing my grandmother's kindness, support, loyalty, and especially her love was truly unforgettable. She presented these values every time I was with her. Whenever I spoke to her on the phone, she never failed to provide support and a positive outlook on anything I threw at her. And she always gave wisdom and confidence, which she had a lot of, my way. When I had the chance to be face-to-face with her, no matter how much she was struggling, she would always surround me with laughs, compliments, and smiles. And something truly unforgettable was her smile. A smile from Shirley Walker made you feel like one of the luckiest people in the world. My favorite experiences with the incredible Shirley are as follows. I remember when I was 5 years old and my parents had just agreed to get me my dog Brandy, also known as her youngest grandson. I wouldn't stop saying how I would be a vet when I grew up. Fast forward to last year when I visited my Nana in her Montreal estate. We were sitting down for another infamous brunch when she said, "By the way, how are you doing with becoming a veterinarian?" I was confused. "When did I tell you I was becoming a veterinarian, Nana?" She looked at me as if I had asked her what color the sky was and said, "Well, when you were 5, of course." This simple memory reminds me of how my grandmother always thought of her family first and also how she never forgot a thing. I know this personally from witnessing many debates between her and my dad. And although I'm now playing high-level hockey, when I was still playing House League soccer, she told me that I would be on Team Canada. But her values are also shown in the little memories too. The way she would sign her messages with the number of random emojis, exos, doo-doos, and the occasional new vocab words. Some that I pulled from our past messages are "dalink," "wunderbar," and my personal favorite word, "papacita." And to be honest, I'm not sure if she's talking about her son or her husband. That aside, thinking about the past exchanges with my Nana brings me back to the same conclusion. Shirley Walker had so much love in her and always put that before anything else. From taking time to check in, shedding light through dark clouds, managing a smile through hardship, or just being herself, you feel and remember her unforgettable love. You feel and remember her. I will never forget you, Nana. And thank you for always being one of my biggest supporters, even when I didn't realize it. I love you and miss you. Love, little Dudu.
Thank you, Alex. Now for our last speaker, it's Derek Kent, Shirley's son. Please come forward, Derek. Turn it on.
Hey, what are you guys doing here? Shirley was a radiant human being whose light touched many. She was stunning. Beautiful gray hair, huge smile, gorgeous brown eyes, and a cackling laugh that was infectious. She was one of a kind, a dental hygienist, teacher, tap dancer, dinner table debater, actor, model, therapist, and at various other times in her life, she was well known to be a complete pain in the ass. But she could also warm your heart. She was compassionate, full of life, and would brighten up any room she walked into. She would often say to me, "Derek, you are funny, smart, charismatic, and you know what? You got all that from me." I said, "What about Dad?" She paused for a second, said, he was short." Growing up, she was a swimmer, prom queen, lifeguard. She went on to U of T to graduate as a dental hygienist, got her master's degree at midlife. For over 40 years, she was a respected and inspiring teacher in applied human sciences at Concordia University, adored by students and colleagues alike. I did some research on this. I learned she scored an impressive 4.8 out of 5 on the website Rate My Prof. This is a true story. Here's a quote. "Shirley was an excellent teacher and one of the nicest that I've ever met. She is bright, funny, caring, so smart. Do not miss an opportunity to take her class. It will change your life forever as it did mine." I was intrigued. I dug deeper in the data. I found other comments. She helps with assignments, gives part marks, and was extremely flexible with the timing of handing in papers. Suddenly, the 4.8 score made sense. Beyond the classroom, she played the piano, she tap danced. She was a regular at the Sonatina piano camp in Vermont. She was a stage actor for one scene in one play. Off Broadway. She volunteered with the First Nations communities in northern Quebec. As many of you know, she had her fair share of tragedy. Losing 2 daughters before they turned 42, she battled cancer for 25 years, enduring 5 surgeries, one that was 11 hours. She died on the table, but came back to life. Multiple chemo, immuno, and radiation treatments. She was brave and courageous. She never said, "Why me?" Instead, she focused on how she could help others. That was her life purpose. As has been documented today, in one of her last asks, she volunteered at a small cafe. She loved engaging with customers and talking about their problems. I've got a different take on the story. Until one day the owner said, "Shirley, we have a problem. We have to let you go." My mom said, "Why?" The owner responded, "Look, you're a very nice lady, but you talk to the customers too much. They're staying at their table for hours and we're losing money. It's either you go or we close." She responded, "What if I only came in 2 times a week?" She could be wildly and gleefully inappropriate. One time we were out shopping for some challah, as she pronounced it always, in Monkland. She went to pay and she handed her bank card and she said to the cashier in her excitable, energetic way, "Can I ask you a personal question?" I was like, oh shit, here we go. "When did you get that spider tattoo on your neck? And did it hurt?" A 10-minute conversation about this gentleman's life soon ensued. She was generous, caring, wise, with a twinkle in her eye and a smile on her face. As everybody has said today, she had a marvelous sense of humor and could just as easily laugh at herself as with others. If being judged a success in life is leaving your fingerprints on others' lives, she was a success in every way. A Gazette Remembrance comment reflected this so well. This is a quote. "Our entire family benefited from knowing her and being counseled by her. We will never forget her. I met Shirley when she helped me through some very dark times. She was such a wonderful, nurturing, caring, and funny lady. I organized her 70th birthday party, and she danced up a storm. And I love this line. She was pure magic. My mom was magic. Her eyes and smile were sunshine. She was very special to me. Bon voyage, beautiful soul. End quote. My mamala was formidable, feisty, and fearless. She was warm, dramatic, and charismatic. As one of my sister's friends who's here today said, she was everybody's mom. And what a legacy. She loved to talk. She answered every phone call like this: Derek! Insert name. Karen! Murray! With such energy and glee while saying your name, you always felt like the most important person on the planet. She had 3 phones, so she'd always be available. One in the 80s strung around the house about 40 feet. It was the longest cord of telephone in history. Shirley conversation was legendary. Topics could range from relationships, sex, music, politics, rock and roll, religion, or maybe all of the above. Nothing was off limits, and gales of laughter was always on the menu. She would be the first to admit she was not perfect. Just ask her first husband, Len. That joke was for you, Mom. I thought it would land better, but I guess a lot of support in the room. She could be difficult, stubborn, and unyielding in any debate. She never met an argument she didn't like. While I didn't fully appreciate this trait growing up, despite having life's worst calamities thrown at her, I now know she was the toughest human being I've ever met. She was a determined fighter who did everything possible to extend her life, even though it reduced her quality of life. Despite her health challenges, she never complained and wailed, "Why me?" She always joked she was going to live into 106. She was off by 26 years. Huge shout out to Dr. David Fleischer, his amazing medical staff, the hospital, the CLC, Nova Palliative Care Home Team, for their incredible work to support my mom in a dignified, beautiful way in the very last moments of her life. I will miss her constant expressions of love, her uncompromising support, and most of all, her laugh. She taught me to value family, to be yourself, to be confident, to laugh, to love. Here are 2 mottos that she always lived by. Always give more than people ask, and never, ever give up on life. These are inspiring words as we deal with the deepest sadness now that she is gone, and yet her spirit lives on through her family and her friends, and the many, many lives she touched. A special shout out to JJ, who was an incredible caregiver, husband, partner, right up to her last breath. Thank you, Papa JJ, we are here for you. Mom, you lived, you laughed, you loved. Mom, I miss you. I'm proud of you, proud of what you did to raise me, nurture me, and support me in my journey of life. As you signed off every call, love you now, always, and forever. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, that concludes the formal part of the ceremony here today. There are refreshments and snacks in the back and an informal discussion. So please avail yourself of that. And on behalf of the family, I thank you all for coming. And I hope you enjoyed the program. To the participants, thank you all very much. Have a good day.